Tower of Fantasy is a very similar game like Genshin Impact. The game's main focus lies on exploration, combat, growing your character, acquiring different kinds of weapons, and tackling the endgame content, which in this case are special operations, where it's possible to get a lot of good gear, world bosses for weapons, and etc. If you get lucky, of course. And you heard that right, luck plays a big role in getting necessary loot and the stats of those, for example. I mean, just look at this. Whoever thought it was a good idea to implement this kind of system should be ashamed of himself. It is a bit early to evaluate the presentation fully. The only thing I can say about it are the followings. Visuals are a lot like Genshin Impact or any other anime game when it comes to the looks of the world, characters, skills, and etc. In my footage, the visuals can look outdated, drab, or weird, but keep in mind that this is a closed beta. I expect the game to at least be polished like Genshin Impact. This was my main problem with the visuals, other than some questionable design choices. The clear winner is the music. The relaxing tunes during the exploration had this magical effect on me. I enjoyed the exploration for the most part because of it. Combat music in the beginning was pretty monotonous, but it became quite engaging, especially during some of the late game battles. There were sadly a lot of absences of the music during bosses, which made my enjoyment to plummet drastically. I mean, just look at this. Does it look weird? Yes. This kind of bug or an issue might make or break the whole experience for some people, me included. But as always, I expect these issues to be fixed before launch. The music is good, but it doesn't even hold a candle to Genshin's soundtrack. That is my opinion. Maybe they'll add some new stuff during the launch, but who knows. The sounds, although nothing special, at least do not force you to raise an eyebrow. It's okay at least. Some weapons, in my opinion, need to sound more meaty, devastating, or something upon those lines. Although I never found anything weird during the animations, they still need to be polished. And I mean polished a lot. Keep in mind, the direct competitor of this game is Genshin Impact. Say what you want about it, but it is at least pretty polished game, especially when it comes to the presentation. In my opinion, it will still not be enough even if they'll polish Tower of Fantasy. That is, if they do it. I seriously don't have much hope after all the plagiarism and using review bots, but we'll get to that pretty soon. As I've said, the presentation leaves much to be desired. Story is pretty weird. Some people may even say that it's pretty bad, which is understandable. I only played it through because of the experience and the other rewards, and of course to open up new regions faster. It's an epic story spanning the 5 or 6 regions of the world where you'll meet many friends, defeat powerful foes, and solve the mystery around Omnium Towers. Pretty cliché at this point. The only saving grace can be the polish it could have had, but the quality is pretty weird. Cutscenes look weird. The beginning of the story is an exact copy of the Genshin Impact. Everything begins with 2 characters exploring a place near Astra Shelter, which is the first base of operations for the new players. Here they are chased by some creature. During this time you can select the gender of the main protagonist and get a short tutorial. At the end of it, you'll be knocked out and your memory will be wiped out. This signalizes the fact that you are someone special. I mean, that erased knowledge should have been important, which should come and haunt us later on in the story, ? Otherwise, why would you do this? After playing it a bit, this fact never comes up again. Soon after you will be found by the survivors of Astra Shelter or citizens of it. I don't know. It's never explained clearly what they truly are formally. What happened to the other character in the beginning? Did he or she die? Wasn't he or she the sibling of ours? I don't know. And at this point, I don't care. One really important part is the appearance of a little helper, and some of the Genshin Impact players would have started to curse the developers because it looked like Paimon. I seriously was scared that she would have silenced the main protagonist, but no. At least Tower of Fantasy does this kind of companion right. She sometimes helps and follows you around during the story missions. A couple of times she even leaves in order to help friends, another important character of the story that I mistook as a regular NPC. He is the saving grace of the story in my opinion. I was weirdly fond of him. He's this average Joe, I guess. not the angry kind. The story is worse than in Genshin Impact in my opinion, but they at least did the main protagonist better. The villains are non-existent, so there goes the whole tension of the story, I guess. After the first arc, where this girl gets hurt and this guy goes rogue and sides directly with the bad guys apparently, the bad guys are sort of never mentioned up to this point. You will see this lady with unusually big arms, which are creepy as hell. Her overall design is interesting and unique, I'll give her that. Then these towers are activated. This should be bad, I guess, but again, it's not explained clearly why. Only after the third arc, one of the main dudes at Hycross, which is a research organization, explains to you what the hell is going on. Here come time travel shenanigans. Only here is it explained what these towers are and why their activation's bad. After 10 to 20 hours of the game. You might say this should have been a mystery, which truth be told could have been acceptable if no one around you had any clues about it. But one of the main cast, this guy France, knows everything about it and tells you, yeah, shut those towers down, they are bad. During the end of the first arc, you will also get to experience the time travel. Everything happens so quickly and much of it isn't explained. So this already is worse than Genshin Impact. And keep in mind, Genshin's story isn't something spectacular too. Everything up to Inazuma was at least okay. Most of the players would have enjoyed it, me included. Overall rating, in my opinion, was below AAA game storytelling, but above a lot of the average game. The story in Tower of Fantasy is below average. Then again, potential for at least normal story is there. Remember those towers? They do harness some of the Omnium, which is a special substance that I forgot how it got on a planet, by meteor maybe? The Omnium gives the ability to do cool stuff, such as using the memories of the other person to take their whole appearance and abilities for your own good. The Omnium has a radiation that turns most humans into aberrants, I mean these guys. And in order to suppress it, Hycross, I presume, built these devices, which also harness its power. The Omnium sounds like a really useful get out of the jail free card, since it gives the ability to travel through time, which then again happens a couple of times. This can really break the whole story. Here's hoping they implement it fairly well in the story. The story in general does nothing special or different and unique. I hope the devs do something interesting with the central region of the map. Now the most important part of the game, the gameplay. Now I'm not gonna tell you every single detail about combat, since many elements of it are similar to other games, such as normal combos. It's almost same as in Genshin Impact, since every available weapon has a sort of a unique combo, which can be modified by pressing and holding an attack button during a specific points in a combo. Every weapon has a normal, skill, and the charged one, which in some cases deals a lot more damage than the normal one. The healer charged skill may not heal as much as the normal one, and for a long time at that, but it can be triggered a lot often than normal skill, and this is a big criticism too. Some of the skills have a cooldown of up to 1 minute, which is just ridiculous. Keep in mind that you still take damage during the casting, and some of the skills do take a long time to cast. One of the main reasons the Gurren Blade is such a good weapon, even if the enemies have a resistance to it, is because its skill is on low cooldown of 15 seconds. Plus, it's also one of the best ways to traverse from one mountain to another. I mean, just look at this. It's cool, not gonna lie. From every weapon I've seen, this one is just so satisfying to use. I have to say that the weapons look cool, but feel weird. It's as if there is no impact, and the reason mainly lies with sound effects. I hope they improve them during the actual launch. They just feel floaty, not Arkham Knight sort of floatiness. One other thing is the auto-aim. You can't manually focus one enemy, and in most cases it focuses on a random enemy in the middle of your screen. What the fuck? Just look at this boss. It can spawn bees, which die on their own after a while, plus they also don't deal a lot of damage, so they can be left alone. And the player can focus the boss, but it's impossible with the auto-aim, since it will always select one of the bees around it. This problem always arises during the battles with multiple enemies. It's just ridiculous. You just have to mash the attack button and hope that you somehow hit the enemy you want dead. There is also an aerial combat, but at this point in time it's pretty bare bones, nothing major. What does take a big portion of the combat is the dodging and the fantasia. as the game calls it. It's just the perfect dodge that slows down time. This mechanic is also problematically implemented. What do you think the perfect dodge is? Me and the most of the other players would have said a dodge that happens right before an enemy hits the player. But in this game, it often happens way before that or sometimes a bit too late. You might say, Borislav, just pay attention to the red light and dodge right after it flashes. Well, yeah, that's correct, but it's against the player's natural feeling of a combat. At this point, it's just weird to use it and you're forced to use it a lot. Enemies are interesting. After the usual crackheads and junkies or cultists, you'll meet delinquents, samurais, and mechanical robots that mimic different kinds of animals. All in all, not a lot of them, but it's at least mediocre. The bosses are really well done visually. Mechanically, every single one of them is the same. At some point during combat, they'll get a shield. If not destroyed in time, they'll do a super move that deals a lot of damage. Most of the other attacks can be dodged, so you'll never forced to use different kinds of weapons. I mean, I just ran all the available bosses with the same weapon sets and I never had a problem of defeating them. Sure, it may take some time, but in the end, you will win. This is just a lame boss design that only focuses on your damage or healing output. Anything else you don't need. You could run a tank in your team, but why would you do that if they don't have much DPS? Some of the bosses do really cool super moves if their shield isn't destroyed in time. Some of them even change the whole battlefield for a short while. You'll either see the same move over and over again or never see them at all, since if the shield's gone, the move will never happen. I hope they implement these mechanics differently. In conclusion, combat needs more polish. Weapons don't feel as impactful as they should be. Lack of a manual aim is a serious trouble, high skill cooldowns, weird perfect dodge, late boss mechanics, but I have to say the combo system has a lot of potential if the devs expand the available options during the combo. Something like Samurai Warriors or Dynasty Warriors, you know? This would just make the whole combat on par with the Genshin Impacts, but who am I talking to? They'd rather add more loot boxes or gacha mechanics, right? In order to get more into detail, we need a couple of infos about weapons. There are 3 types of weapons. I would call them assault, healing, and tank types. Every player can have 3 weapons equipped at all times. 2 of the same kind will heighten the overall effectiveness of that type of a weapon. There are assault, healing, tank, and if you equip 3 of the different types of weapons, then you'll trigger the 4th effect, which is sort of an all-rounder one. After this comes the charging and shattering attributes of a weapon. Shatter is necessary to destroy shields. The higher the attribute for it, the faster you'll demolish shields. The higher the weapon's charging attribute, the faster it will charge a weapon in order to unleash the special moves of a weapon, which in turn works in sync with these 2 attributes. There is also an equipment system with variable stats. These pieces will make or break your character build. It is sad that everything is left to the chance till the smallest details. Whoever thought this was a good idea should be ashamed of himself and let his or her days be ruined forever. Each of them have main stats, which are set in stone, and substats which can practically be anything. Come on, why? Everything up to this point was good, like steady character progression, and then you're slammed with fucking RNG. There is already RNG during the farming, but given the fact that this is an MMO, it's at least acceptable. You won't be able to get everything, even if you shell out some money in a short period of time. Another big part of progression are mattresses, which can be attached to a weapon, giving it extra stats plus a set bonus if you equip at least 2, 3 or 4 of them. Blue ones are garbage, you'll quickly notice that. The purple ones can be useful, especially in a set of 3. The golden ones are the good stuff, which come with 2 set bonuses, one for 2 and the other for 4 equipment slots. These effects may also break a build or significantly raise the combat effectiveness of a weapon. The only way to get these stuff is through joint operations or world bosses. World bosses may also drop some of the SSR weapons, but probability is pretty low on every occasion. This is the first barrier for the RNG, and if you somehow get through it and acquire the desired weapons or mattress, then kudos to you and enjoy your loot. But equipment needs to go through the second round of RNG during the upgrade, and if you fail there, GG, farm some more again. This kind of double RNG is the worst. I guess the devs also copied bad stuff from Genshin Impact. One good thing is that you can actually import the upgrade level from one piece to another. This is really useful. You don't have to enhance every new piece from zero. So props where it's due. Devs, please don't change this. This is the only saving grace of this broken and unfair system. Before you feel relieved about farming the SSR weapons, keep in mind that I did a lot of these and I never got SSR weapon even once. I only got one mattress from all of this farming. The other way to get these is through collecting the black and golden orbs through exploration, and believe me, there are a lot of the black ones, like I got around 3 to 400 at least. Golden ones are rare ones, and I would lie if I said that I got more than 100 through exploration, but you can get the golden orb from a daily commission. 10 golden orbs will at least net you SR weapon, and the 18th one will be a guaranteed SSR weapon. The black orbs will mostly net you SR stuff. I was only able to get one SSR, I think, after 500 of them, I think. You may roll your eyes, not another gacha game, which is true, this is a gacha game, but in comparison to Genshin Impact, more forgiving in a way. Just think about it like this: every 80 days at least you'll get an SSR weapon. But the pity in this game works differently. Even if you get an SSR before 18th one, you will get your guaranteed one at 18th one too. It resets after the 18th pull, and I had multiple occasions where I got more of them before the pity. I hope they don't change this. There are also different bonus objectives that net you extra golden orbs. You get a lot of these through exploration and objectives. After launch, they will also have events with extra golden orbs too, presumably. In comparison to Genshin Impact, even after all the commissions there, you still won't get even one single pool. That's what I mean by Tower of Fantasy being more forgiving. The same kind of system is in effect for mattresses, but the material farming is a lot harder. I hope they at least implement a daily challenge to get these. Currently, a player can get 3 of these per week, which isn't a lot. I personally struggle to get good mattresses. During the initial 20 to 40 hours, trust me, you'll get enough golden orbs for at least 3 to 4 SSR weapons, and a lot of SR ones too. The SR weapons are useful, so don't be discouraged about not getting all the SSR weapons. There are 2 types of activities: daily ones that require stamina in order to get rewards from them, and weekly challenges that don't need it and can be done as many times as the player wants. Some of them are kinda fun. The Wormhole, for example, or Bygone Phantoms, which is just a bigger version of Spiral Abyss from Genshin Impact, or similar dungeons from any other gacha game, where you get weekly rewards on Mondays or Tuesdays. On top of that, you don't have to do these every single week. If you only want weekly rewards, since it sort of saves the progression, again, respect for this kind of system, I like it. One thing that I would change without a second thought is the way a player is able to get gold. Primarily, it's done through using stamina, completing a short and really easy dungeon, and at the end, the amount is 8,000. That is not even enough to level up late game equipment more than 3 times, but there is a chance to get up to 45,000. But the probability is pretty low. In my opinion, the default amount should be raised with the level up to 10,000 or 12,000 at least. I was 54 at the end of the game, and I really needed gold for the leveling of my weapons, mattresses, and equipment. I already explored all the regions till 90%, so the only source was for me this mini and easy dungeon, and I mostly got 8,000 and had to decide what to level up. This is only the beginning, you know? Imagine what the prices would be for the levels 60 or 70. 8k then would be a laughable amount. Stamina system is something we've seen many times in almost every gacha game, nothing special. What I really want is the ability to somehow condense these in order to use them on another day, since the stuff you can get from joint operations, for example, are different every day, and very often you will need gloves, but right now only armor or boots are available to be acquired. I just had to waste these sometimes so that I don't stay on a max, and before you say, well, Borislav, you need other equipment pieces to upgrade existing ones. Well, yes, but I found myself almost capped out on these upgrades, which happened after 1 month of play. Imagine what would happen after 2 or 3 months of active play. Other than these, there are world bosses that need multiple players to cooperate in order to defeat them. This was a lot of fun. It was a hassle to find players, but when we got around 10 to 20 people, it was fucking glorious. I really enjoyed it. And this is the best thing about this game. You have to play some of the content with the other players. So if you somehow find a couple of buddies, then you will have a lot of fun, which is true for almost any online game. The very first thing you'll do after the tutorial is the exploration. Running around, opening chests, and collecting every shiny thing is kind of addicting. Once in a while, a junkie outpost or group will be spotted, which means their automatic death sentence. Puzzles are non-existent, and if you call throwing moving bombs in these flowers a puzzle or bringing the balls into these things, then I don't know if you've ever experienced puzzles in a game before. I mean, come on. The biggest challenge is switching the relics, which are just necessary to acquire the orbs from them. But I have to say the exploration is faster than in Genshin Impact. Other than jetpack, the player later on will get the magnetic arm, which can bring the character to a cliff even if he's airborne. Hoverboard, that is a lot of fun to use, but a little bit unpractical. During the first arc, you'll also get the first vehicle, the motorcycle, which is slightly faster than running, but still useful. It is also important to say that most of the relics are meant to be used in battle. Whether you'll do so is another question, and in my opinion they don't deal much damage to justify their usage. The only exception is this robot, but even that I didn't use. This whole relic system is a cool addition, but it needs a lot of polish, and for the love of God, implement a relic wheel to switch between them on the go. Currently, I was only able to have 2 at the same time, and every time I had to switch for the puzzle, I had to press escape button, then go to the relic screen, then to the equipment section, select the relic and equip it. This slows down the exploration to a crawl and takes all the momentum it creates with its fast exploration. Movement in general is more versatile. Outside double jump, you also get 3 consecutive dodges, which make climbing or jumping from one cliff to another a piece of cake. The biomes are okay-ish. Current map is a lot smaller than Genshin's, which is sad, but I hope they add something bigger to it. The exploration is one of this game's strengths. One of the things I came back for was this, and it never disappointed me, but also never made my jaw drop. This was done at least similarly or better in other games. Now, this game was around not that long, but it was already able to garner some controversies that are pretty bad, and on top of that, it's really hard not to believe them. The first one is about bots that copied reviews from Genshin Impact on iOS. It is pretty hard not to believe this. The evidence is there, so to speak. Why would anyone do this? And to top it off, copy from popular games such as Genshin Impact? I don't know. Have some faith in your game, my dear game developers. If the score of it is bad, then try to improve it. Do not hide behind momentary solutions. Sometimes I hate modern game developers because of this. But if you still want to copy something, at least don't do it from something as popular as Genshin Impact. Many players of Tower of Fantasy are from this game. A good example is me. Do you really think that some of us wouldn't have noticed this? Do you really think that your player base is this stupid? Come on, millions of people are constantly observing your game. Why did you think no one would have noticed this? It took me a couple of searches to find some screenshots and other people's opinions about it. Here are the screenshots. First up, for me, none of the reviews make sense to me. Some might ask, well, Borislam, how do you know this is true? Which is a good question, but when I see so many people ranting about it, it's only natural that I think something's off about this game. What really makes all of this believable for me are the other cases of theft, and in those cases, everything is much clearer. Next up is the reuse of an asset from Honkai. This time it's a direct copy of a weapon, and the last one the plagiarized promotional video. This seriously looks bad. They didn't even change, I don't know, the color palette of the weapon. The promotional video is a frame-by-frame copy. Do you really think your audience is this stupid? They at least apologized, which should be credited, but after being caught 3 times in a row, can you blame some of the people not believing the devs now? I certainly will look at everything they'll do critically. Who knows how many other things they plagiarized that is left to be uncovered. There are also a lot of opinions regarding the devs, about their tendency to abandon their games, which changes a lot of things for me and creates that final nail in the coffin. But I'll give the game one final chance, and if it comes out half broken, then I'll leave it in 1 week. There are a lot of bugs at this stage in a game which are normal for a closed beta. That is why it's called closed beta. But considering the fact that this game was already out in the East, primarily in China, I expected more polish. Some of these bugs were crashes. This becomes a bit mean when it crashes during a joint operation. One specific bug I encountered was when I could not interact with anything, but restarting the game helped. I might sound like a broken record at this point, but Tower of Fantasy needs some serious polish. In conclusion, Tower of Fantasy is a shameful ripoff of Genshin Impact, and the devs should at least create a game with some semblance of originality. Just joking. Although the game has a lot of similarities to Genshin Impact, it does a lot of things differently, like co-op and a pretty fast open world exploration. On the other hand, it copies the worst stuff such as double RNG for equipment, no manual locking, and many more, but for some reason does not copy the polishness of Genshin Impact. I mean, why? I guess we'll see if the game will be more polished during the launch. Other than this, Tower of Fantasy is nothing special. Almost everything isn't unique, which in this day and age is pretty normal. But a game can always be something more with enough polish. The only saving grace is the PvP or co-op of it, which in my book are big positives. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. I hope. Bye bye.